What's up guys, today we're going to talk about dramatic lighting, how to get something like this out of your camera. A few weeks ago I uploaded a lighting test, nothing fancy, just showing some behind the scenes of one of my recent projects and how we got a dramatic look. Looking at my videos, it seems like this one is rather enjoyed, so I thought I'd follow it up with this video along with some commentary on how we achieved the look. We actually started off with this really bright space with a lot of texture and objects around. This was due to the falling out of a previous location, and as a filmmaker, you have to make do with what you have access to. So we found this location, and instead of taking the beautiful background already available, we took this dingy dark wall. In order to get a look like this, we first had the subject brought as far off the wall as we could manage. In this case, they were about 5 or 6 feet away. We used a total of 3 lights, but not for all of our shots. We decided to get a variety of shots to choose from in order to put together this epic montage of clips. You can see our first shot was somewhat of a silhouette. We had the subject stand in center frame and put a light without diffusion behind them. In this case, we used the Aputure 300D, and that allowed us to take down our aperture in order to make the wall look darker. This could be achieved with multiple dimmer lights as well, but ensure the subject can hide all of them with their body, or the effect could be ruined and you could have too much light leaking from behind the subject. Our next shot was a close-up lighting our subject from one side just behind them diagonally. Again, using the 300D with a light dome and 2 levels of diffusion, allowing the light to bounce off the wall behind the camera to fill in any spaces that were a bit too dark, but this time adding a light from the Aputure HR672 kit as a hair light. This complemented the other light rather well, and in this shot we took it one step further by starting the 300D at about 10% brightness and then turning it up as the scene progressed, giving our actors the cue to lift their head for some nice movement that was a great accent to the scene. The third shot was a little tricky. This included the use of the 300D but hanging from above our subject. We took away the hair light, starting this light from behind them and then loosening the C-stand with the grip head and the arm that it was on so we could swing it from behind the subject over their head and then slightly in front of them diagonally. As you can see, it gave a really cool effect. In one scene, we were even able to swing the entire light all the way around to create this effect where the light comes in and fades away. Unfortunately, the ceilings weren't high enough to do this with everyone, so the technique was unfortunately tossed to the side. Our last shot was pretty simple. We did this in 2 ways, and we ended up liking the second one just a little better. For this shot, we wanted to edge light the subject. Originally, giving them a hair light, we opted to go without it, and the difference really shows. Actually, this shot was directly inspired by the Hunger Games. If you've seen these posters, you'll know what I'm talking about. And this was an influence on the entire shoot, but mostly inspired this shot. As you can see, the subject looks straight forward while our 300D stands as close to the subject as possible with the light dome, and it's pointed directly across their face. Turned up all the way, and we turn our aperture down to compensate for overexposure. We also added our third light, technically second down the road, another Aputure Amaran from the HR672 kit, and dialed it down to about 20% power. This allowed us to cast an eye light on our subject just to give it a little extra pizzazz in the scene. The idea of which I can't take for myself. My cinematography and lighting expert friend Brandon came up with this idea and it looked great. And that's about it. 3 lights, 1 location, and just moving the lights around our subject. Here's the final result of some of these shots with some graining for show. Funny enough, this was actually done on the Ursa Mini 4K, a camera which I'm not really fond of since its sensor is a lie and its dynamic range is much lower than claimed, falling somewhere around 10 stops of dynamic range instead of the proclaimed 12. But it just goes to show that if you light correctly, you can bring the potential out of any camera. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like up this video if you liked it and dislike it if you didn't, and tell me in the comments below why. Ping that little bell for a notification every time I post a video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.